it's when the darkness and the light mingle is when the sky is the most colorful. And that resonates with me because I'm like, so much of the beauty in my story has, and the reason I know God is not in spite of the darkness and the pain and the sorrow. It's because of it. I've seen the light enter into the darkness so many times. And so I love that every day in the morning and in the evening, there's this sort of mingling of the two things at the same time. I'm Ellie Holcomb, and this is my CCM Spotlight. I call myself like a selfish songwriter because usually, for whatever reason, the way that God wired me is when I sing, it helps me believe. And I think that might be the way that all of us are wired. It's like, I don't know, it's like singing is like an embodied prayer, an embodied remembrance, an embodied lament. And I was walking through a lot of questions, wrestling, and then also a lot of loss. We lost my precious niece Bailey to a fierce battle, aggressive battle with cancer. She was 9. It is like, that is not how the story is supposed to go. You know, it just is like, no one should ever have to grieve a child. And yet she had a smile that stretched as wide as Tennessee and this deep confidence that she knew where she was headed. She was like ministering to all of us as we were grieving. And I think what I was marveling at is this mystery that I continue to encounter over and over again in my story, is that in my deepest places of lament, where I'm like, this is, like, you say you work all things for the good of those who love you and are called according to your purposes in Romans, and I'm like, but this is not good. This is breaking my heart. And so I think I feel more boldness to just come and be like, what the heck, God? Like, why? And honestly, like, I'm probably going to die with some of those questions in me. And I can say with full confidence, I've known the tenderness and the empathy of God and the goodness of God to remind me that this isn't the end of the story. There may not be healing on this side. We may not get the miracle on this side of heaven. But there is a day coming where every sad thing will come untrue. When we all make it back to the far country, we all make it back to our true home. And Bailey's there now, and I think she would love to know that I'm singing about the hope that I know lives in her, because she is healed and whole on the other side of glory. And so it is this, I love that the gospel makes space for both. Like, from the grave and the garden where Jesus is literally weeping, like wrestling. If you can take this cup, take it. I just love that God's answer to brokenness is, me too. I'm right here with you in it. And this is not the end. There is an empty grave, and that's where our hope is grounded. And so, man, I'm so grateful to hold on to that for my own heart, and then to get to say, hey, I'll sit with you in the sorrow because Jesus has sat with me, and I'm going to point you to him because he's reminded me, and I want to remind you, this isn't the end. It's a good story that we get to be a part of. Yeah. Like, the adventure with God sort of took shape for me in this thing called the 19th Annotation, which is like, of old, it's St. Ignatius, and it's sort of a 9-month journey of prayer and meditation for an hour a day for 9 months. And you use your imagination and kind of enter into scenes of scripture. And so I was in that scene in the middle of getting really bad news. You know, like, there aren't that many more options for Bailey. And I sort of felt like, I think all of us can kind of like, I don't know, you have something like a time where you're like, okay, I believe you, God, I'm trusting you, God. And then you just get hit with a wave of doubt, PTSD, a memory of something where you hurt. You know, like, I think as kids, we love trust falls, and as adults, you're like, that sounds terrible because you've like gotten dropped a couple times. And so I wrote Give Me Your Hand, kind of thinking about that story and imagining Peter having such faith to go walk out to Jesus on the water and then getting hit with the wave and just like his body kind of betraying him in that moment. Like memories, he's been a fisherman, he knows what storms can do, and he's like freaking out. And that's kind of how I felt, like freaking out, like, Lord, where are you in this? If you say you can heal, but you don't always on this side of glory. And what the heck, why? And yet, like, help me. And immediately when Peter cries out, Jesus reaches down his hand. And so that song I sang about 20 days before Bailey passed. And the end of that song we hadn't really written. And actually the vocal is the vocal from the demo where we like first cut the song because it was just a moment. And the end of that song, I'm just like singing out. We hadn't even figured out how we were going to end it. And Casey, my producer, was like, keep rolling. Because I just started singing, I can see that the light is breaking, singing out, death is not the end. And I might die with these questions in me, but you give me your hand. I believe in the resurrection. I'm holding out hope for the promised land. And I might die with this promise in me, but you give me your hand. And that wasn't written. That's just what I was wrestling with in my heart. And it just spilt on out onto, thank goodness, a track that was recording and captured that moment. And it feels really vulnerable to sing it. And yet I've had so many stories of people saying, thank you, I'm right there. I'm like, you're not alone. You're not alone. The Psalms feel perfectly human to me. I've always resonated with them. And I think what they have done for me is given me a path and sort of like a model of what it looks like to praise, to remember and remind your heart, because I think that's our work. Like David is always preaching the gospel to his own. Oh, remember my soul, awake my soul, remember this story. And there's such freedom to say, how long? And they do not always end with a bow at the end, like, and here's the answer and everything's fine. And I think sometimes, or my tendency, I'm 7 on the Enneagram, I hate pain. And yet, I think our tendency as humans is to want to skip over the hard part. And yet, when I look back at my story, it is in every valley where I feel like I'm not going to make it through this. Those are actually become the mountaintop place. The valley becomes the mountaintop of where I can say, oh man, God's love met me in that pain. And actually his love was deeper. I thought the bottom fell out, and below that were the everlasting arms, and they caught me and they held me and he wept with me. And so there is a sense that maybe we don't get the miracle story on this side of glory, but I think the miracle for me is the companionship, is the sense that we're not alone. And we see that in Jesus, we see that in God's people. And so I think the presence of other believers, brothers and sisters who have walked with me through pain and held space for me through that. And then nature, so Psalms, people, and then the creation. I think in the winter when it's so dark and so cold, you look at trees and you're like, that's dead. Like there is no way that is coming back. And I just love that God knew that we might forget. And so he just writes resurrection literally into the earth in the season of spring, but also like in the darkness, there are these pinpricks of light of stars like whispering like, the night isn't the end, the sun's coming out. New mercies every morning. When I am forgetting who God is, I go to the Psalms and I try to get myself outside and let creation sing the song of God's love to my heart. And they're pretty good at it. It's a good song. And God's like, play it again, run it back. They forgot again. And I love how kind God is that he knew that we would probably forget it. So he's like, it's cool. I'll write it in the sky. Literally every day. Well, and two, you talked about liminal spaces where kind of two things can be true at the same time. And that's a gospel story. Like, it's death and life. It's like in a grave and new life is coming. It's sorrow and joy. It's feeling totally abandoned and alone and yet still held and beloved. It's like they can both be true at the same time. And when you go outside in the morning, when the sun's coming up, if you get up that early, I don't always do that. I'm more of a sunset girl. But it's when the darkness and the light mingle is when the sky is the most colorful. And that resonates with me because I'm like, so much of the beauty in my story has, and the reason I know God is not in spite of the darkness and the pain and the sorrow. It's because of it. I've seen the light enter into the darkness so many times. And so I love that every day in the morning and in the evening, there's this sort of mingling of the two things at the same time. Grateful. There's that verse that talks about we see dimly now, but one day we'll see it clearly. Dimly as if in a mirror. One day we'll see it clearly. We know in part now, but one day we'll know it fully as we are fully known. And then after that, it talks about how I used to, when I was a child, I used to think like a child, act like a child. And now I'm a man, I've put childish ways aside. And there's certainly a lot to be said for wisdom and growing up and not acting like a child. But this sort of experience that I've had with God, I kind of when I read that verse, I was like, what if this is actually an invitation to remember our eternal infancy? Like, what if we're meant to be like kids, actually? To feel the freedom to fall apart in the arms of love. To feel the freedom to be like, I don't know. What? They feel so free to ask questions as kids. And I actually love that. And I think for me, as I get older, I feel the freedom to say, I don't actually have all the answers. But can I tell you some stories about how God met me when I didn't have the answers? Can I tell you those stories? Because those are the stories that I want you to know. You can bring all of your questions. You can bring all of your imperfections. You can bring all of your doubt and your joy and your sorrow to God because of who Jesus is. Because he came down and said, not a God who's out to get us, but a God who is out to draw us near and to bring us back home. And so I think for me, there's this beautiful invitation as I parent my kids to be like, for ego to die a little bit and for me to be like, I don't know. I'm so sorry this is hard right now. Let me tell you what I know to be true. God's with you in the middle of it. And let me tell you a story about a time that he was with you before. Let's remember that. And let's remember this story from scripture. And so this joy of like remembering and wrestling modeled out before them has been a challenge for me, but a beautiful invitation. Remember, like, we're just God's kids. Before, like Henry Nouwen in Life of the Beloved talks about how before we're ever born, before we take a breath, before we are loved by anyone, or before we're wounded by anyone, before we have any success, before we have any failure, we are first and foremost beloved by the God who made us. We are his treasure, and his favor rests upon us. And so for us to remember that and to get back to that and to wake that up in our own hearts as adults who have struggled, who have failed, who wrestle, who doubt, to remember before we're parents raising kids, we are first and foremost beloved. More than anything else, it is none of your story is about what you can do for God. It is all about what he has done for you. You don't have to be good enough or love God enough if you will simply always rest in the fact that you are his beloved treasure. From that place, you'll know exactly where to go. So rest in that. Resting love, being love, not doing love. You'll go and do all the things that he's called you to do if you just sit with him. That's all he wants, is your presence to be with him. So come to him as you are. There is full freedom. Come as you are into the presence of the one who made you and loved you and knows you fully and loves you anyway. You can come as you are, sweet girl. Don't miss out, because you're his treasure. And then when you're resting in that, you're going to be able to help every other person you encounter know that they are also God's treasure. So, know you're his treasure. No one's ever asked me this in an interview, because I guess it's not in line with, whatever. What if it's not true? Like, faith requires, you can't know. It's being certain of what you can't see. What if it's not true? And I guess I would just say, even if, whatever, you get to the end, you're like, oh, I was wrong. This isn't what I thought. I can't imagine moving through this beautiful and broken planet any other way. And I think it's true. I can't know for sure, but I wouldn't want to walk through life believing any other thing, because it has transformed the way that I've experienced this world. And it has given me hope when I could not have gone on otherwise. And I guess I just wouldn't want to live any other way. Because I think knowing that we're loved changes everything. And so if it's all wrong, what? So what? I get to say I lived a life where I knew that I was loved, and I helped other people know that they were loved. So be it. And I don't think that's going to be the end, but I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. So thank you so much for watching my CCM Spotlight. You can find me in the far country at ellieholcomb.com. I'll see you out there.